mermaid is so bored and tired of doing nothing but swimming around in the ocean all day long. She sees the two-legged fish running around on the beach and wants to be part of the fun, but does not know how. She looks down at her tail fin.
I can't run and play with this tail. What should I do?
Just then, a book washes up on the sand. She picks it up, not knowing what a book even is. She looks at it, opens it up, smells it, and tries to eat it. But of course it tastes terrible.
What is this? What do I do with it? I have no use for it.
So she throws the book back into the ocean. Then she spies a two-legged fish sitting on one of her rocks with one of those things she had found floating in the ocean. She wanted to ask her what it was and what do you do with it, but the two-legged fish did not pay any attention to her. The two-legged fish was really busy looking at that thing, the book. The mermaid thought that if she splashed around in the water to make noise, maybe the two-legged fish would hear her. She splashed and splashed. It still did not work. So then she began crying and splashing at the same time, and finally the two-legged fish looked her way. But the two-legged fish just sat there and stared at the mermaid, not knowing exactly what she was seeing. The mermaid sat very quietly and then began to smile at the two-legged fish. And soon the two-legged fish began to smile back. It did not take long for other two-legged fish to see the mermaid, and they all began to gather around her. She was kind of scared, not knowing if the two-legged fish would hurt her. They seemed very friendly, and she really wanted to know about the things she found in the ocean. She started to ask them about the book and realized they could not understand her. She had heard about other mermaids that had visited the land of the two-legged fish and knew that they were able to talk to them. So she really concentrated on talking with words, and one of the two-legged fish said something to her. She stopped and listened. She listened again, and the two-legged fish said, "Hi."
Hi.
The mermaid watched the two-legged fish and really concentrated, and it was not long before she opened her mouth and
Hi.
came out of her mouth. Oh, she was so excited that she kept saying,
Hi. Hi.
They all started laughing because the mermaid was so excited. That was all it took, and the mermaid started asking all kinds of questions.
What is that? What do you do with it? I tasted it, but it tasted terrible.
You do not eat it, you read it.
Read it? What's reading?
Two-legged fish opened up the book and started to read the book to the mermaid. The mermaid was so excited with what she was hearing that she wanted to hear more and more. Two-legged fish told her she would come back first thing in the morning and would read to her and tell her all the fun things that she does with books and stories. With that, they said
Goodbye.
and headed back to their homes. The two-legged fish watched the mermaid swim away. First thing the next morning, the two-legged fish and the mermaid met at their rock. The two-legged fish had lots and lots of books. As they read, she learned that there were places that had hundreds of books that she could read over and over again.
I want to go to this place called the library where I can read all these beautiful, wonderful books. But how am I going to get there?
She sat thinking and wishing that she could walk when suddenly the wind started blowing and the water started whirling and she heard her father's voice.
Father, what are you doing here?
I have heard your wishes, and I've come to grant them, to have two legs like the other two-legged fish. But I need one condition,
What is it?
that during this time of June I will give you your legs, and you must learn all about the books and the words in them, and then come back and tell the other fish in the ocean about them.
Oh, Father, I love to tell all my fish friends what I learned from the two-legged friends. I thank you so much. I'm so excited.
And at that, her father swam back into the ocean, and her tail fin turned into legs, just like her two-legged friends. She could not wait for her adventure. She went running to her two-legged friend and told her what had happened. They headed straight for the library. She wanted to read every book that was there. While she was at the library, she found there were many other things to do along with her reading. That month went by so fast, but she was ready to go home to see her father and the rest of her family and friends. That last morning, she met her two-legged friend and her father at the same rock to say goodbye and thank her two-legged friend for everything that she had taught
Thank
her.
you so much for everything. I've read to read those wonderful books. I got to go to all those special activities. I'll never forget you, and I'll tell my fish friends all about you. Thank you so much.
At that, the wind started blowing and the water started to whirl and the mermaid's legs turned back into a fin. Her father and she swam back into the ocean with a big wave to her two-legged friend. Once she was back in her home in the ocean, she could not stop talking, in fish language, of course, telling everyone about everything she had seen and done.
I went to this beautiful place called the library. They had all kinds of books, and we got to do all special kinds of things. And we had this thing called Ocean of Obstacles. But we got to run relays, and we got to make a thing called Seascape that kind of reminded me of home, and all kinds of things. And we had this food called goldfish, but didn't taste like any goldfish that I've eaten before. And then we had this Wet and Wild day. That was fun. It kind of reminded me of home because everybody got to get wet. That was really good. And then this guy came from a place called Silly Safari, and he talked about all kinds of animals like crabs and alligators. And boy, I told him the time that the alligator took a nip out of my tail fin, and I told him they weren't anything to mess with. But that guy was really funny, and he kind of silly, but we really liked him, and we learned a lot. And then a guy came from Science Central, talked about bubbleology. I thought that was a pretty big word for bubbles. We learned all about bubbles, and I really like that since I sleep in a bubble every night. And then, of course, I had to go home, but all the kids that did all the reading and did all these special things got to go to a place called the YMCA. They said it was kind of like my home, but a lot smaller. And then they were going to, these people were coming called Traveling Lantern, and they were doing a puppet show called Peter Pan. Must have been really neat because they were really, really excited. Oh, I can't wait to do this next year. I hope maybe you guys can go too, as long as Father gives me my legs back. And I think it'd be wonderful if we all went, and even you. Hi, I'm Linda from the Limberlost Library in Rome City.
And I'm Beth from the Kendallville Library, and we're here to welcome you to the 2007 Summer Reading Program, Make Waves at Your Library.
We hope you really enjoyed our skit. This year's summer reading, we're trying to make it easier but fun because we know so many of our readers are so busy with so many other activities. Each student will be given a book, and within that book, it'll tell you everything that you need to know, places to keep track of your reading, and also a lot of extra really fun activities that you can do during the summer.
Like Linda said, this year we're going to give you a booklet instead of having the reading records and a calendar and all these separate pages you have to keep track of. Inside this book, the first thing you're going to do is decide whether you're an independent reader or a family reader. An independent reader is someone who can read on their own, and a family reader is someone who needs mom or dad's help. The first week is an ocean of obstacles. The second week is Wet and Wild. The third is ocean and island animals. The fourth is bubbleology. And the fifth and sixth week are independent reading weeks. And during those weeks, we just ask that you catch up on your reading, enjoy the 4th of July, and go to the 4-H fair. But on those pages, you're going to find the instructions for each week. What do you need to come to the bubbleology program? When is it? Where is it? And on the other sheet, there's just a fun bubble activity, a crossword puzzle, or a fill-in-the-blank sheet. In the middle of your booklet, you're going to find a really super cool Game Board. And this game board asks you to go out in Kendallville or Rome City and experience what's going on this summer. But I haven't even covered the dates.
That's very important. Our first day you can sign up is June 4th. Granted, if you cannot come on June 4th, you could come the next day or the next day to sign up. And then you will read through July 14th. So June 4th to July 14th. July 14th is when all your reading has to be in, any activities that you did. But those are the important dates.
And after we're all finished, if you've met your requirements for 4 of the 6 weeks, then you get to come to the finale, which is July 21st. And that's going to be held at the YMCA in Kendallville. And we're going to swim for a couple hours and play in the pools. And then we're going to get to see a wonderful production of Peter Pan, put on by the Traveling Lantern Theater Group. So, we hope to see you this summer at the Make Waves at Your Library summer reading program. Thank you, and goodbye.
Bye.